After what I can only assume Ryan Reynolds thought was a triumphant appearance on Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary, he must not have loved seeing Colin Jost come back to Saturday Night Live last night with a joke at his wife Blake Lively's expense.
Picture this. The dazzling lights of Studio 8H, the palpable energy of a live audience, the weight of expectation hanging in the air. It's SNL's 50th anniversary, a monumental night in television history, and amidst the constellation of stars, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively arrive. To the casual observer, they were Hollywood royalty incarnate, radiating charm, seemingly unfazed. But beneath the surface glamour, a storm was brewing. Months of relentless whispers, fueled by a staggering $400 million lawsuit, had cast a long shadow over their once untarnished image. This SNL appearance was perceived, perhaps by their team, perhaps by themselves, as a critical juncture, a chance to reclaim public adoration, to deftly sidestep the swirling controversy and re-establish their narrative. Ryan, the master of self-deprecating humor, Blake, the epitome of poised elegance, they were banking on their combined star power to rewrite the script. But as the night unfolded, it became chillingly clear that this wasn't a comeback tour. It was, in retrospect, the opening act of a very public downfall, a meticulously crafted illusion about to shatter under the harsh spotlight of live television, all triggered by an unexpected jab from the most unlikely source.
Zelensky was asked to leave the White House. Then he appeared on Fox News and said he thinks he can still salvage his relationship with President Trump, which is like Justin Baldoni saying, "I'd love to work with Blake again."
The air in the iconic studio, typically charged with comedic anticipation, shifted into something colder, sharper. Colin Jost, not initially announced as part of the celebratory roster, unexpectedly emerged onto the stage. A wave of applause rippled through the audience, tinged with surprise. Then, in a moment that would reverberate across the industry, he delivered it, the joke. Not a generic roast, not a playful jab at Hollywood excess, but a pointed barb directed squarely at Blake Lively, a direct, if veiled, reference to the very lawsuit that had become their albatross. An audible gasp mingled with a hesitant, almost uncomfortable ripple of laughter. It wasn't the genuine belly-laughing response SNL thrives on. This was laughter laced with unease, the sound of a room collectively realizing they'd just witnessed a breach of unspoken Hollywood etiquette, a public airing of dirty laundry. It wasn't just a comedian telling a joke, it felt like a calculated message, a subtle but seismic shift in the Hollywood landscape, signaling a change in the prevailing winds regarding this once-adored couple.
Last night on Saturday Night Live, Colin Jost came back live and clearly made a joke at Blake Lively.
To truly understand the weight of that joke, we need to rewind, to delve into the context that made it so devastating. Before the red carpet smiles and forced camaraderie of SNL, there was the lawsuit. A colossal $400 million legal battle, a figure so immense it's almost difficult to comprehend, that had become an inescapable specter haunting Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's seemingly charmed existence. Grave accusations had surfaced, whispers escalated into full-blown media scrutiny, and the image of the golden couple, once synonymous with success and adoration, began to tarnish. For most public figures facing such a monumental legal challenge, the instinct is self-preservation, retreat, strategize, minimize exposure. Lay low, let the lawyers work, issue carefully crafted, non-committal statements. But Ryan and Blake, in a move that defied conventional wisdom, perhaps fueled by hubris or misguided advice, opted for the opposite approach: maximum visibility. They chose the grand stage of SNL, seemingly confident that their charisma could act as a shield, deflecting the negativity, charming their way out of a crisis that was far more profound than they seemed to grasp. The forced smiles and strained interactions leading up to the ill-fated joke were mere window dressing, a flimsy facade about to be demolished.
Now you're poking fun at it. So now it's just a big joke? This whole thing's a joke? This is absolute cringeworthy, and they should be ashamed.
Comedy titans Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, masters of improvisation and audience engagement, attempted to extend an olive branch to inject some levity into the increasingly tense atmosphere. Their question was almost deliberately softball, a casual, open-ended inquiry designed to offer Ryan an easy out, a chance to pivot away from the looming controversy. "How's it going, Ryan?" they asked, a simple, innocuous prompt for lighthearted banter. Instead of seizing this golden opportunity to deflect, to offer a breezy, deflective response, Ryan, in a moment of breathtaking miscalculation, chose to double down on the awkwardness. With a smirk that read as both arrogant and deeply insecure, he delivered the now infamous line, "How's it going?" "Great. Why? What have you heard?" The room's energy instantly curdled. The polite, nervous laughter abruptly ceased. A palpable wave of secondhand embarrassment washed over the audience. Steven Spielberg, a man who's witnessed countless Hollywood dramas both on and off screen, appeared to yearn for an escape route. Amy Poehler's professionally plastered smile momentarily flickered. And Blake, her reaction a study in frozen composure, betrayed a flicker of something sharper, something akin to dawning realization. This wasn't just a poorly timed joke, it was a public declaration of their detachment from reality, their inability to read the room, to understand the gravity of their situation.
Did they rewrite the SNL scripts too? Terrible humans.
How's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
But the comedic evening, or rather, the unfolding drama, was far from over. SNL, it turned out, had a final devastating act prepared. The comedian who delivered the crucial blow was not just any performer, it was Colin Jost, a figure with a significant and deeply personal connection to the Reynolds Lively saga. Jost was, crucially, the husband of Scarlett Johansson, Ryan Reynolds' former wife. Years of Hollywood history, whispered rumors of past romantic entanglements, and residual tensions suddenly became acutely relevant. The air crackled with unspoken history. And then, the joke. It wasn't a generalized jab, it was a laser-focused strike, directly referencing the ongoing lawsuit and, more pointedly, linking Blake Lively's name to the controversy in the most unflattering light imaginable. The joke, paraphrased as a comparison to a controversial political figure attempting to salvage a relationship, subtly but devastatingly implied Blake Lively's professional and reputational standing was akin to something unsalvageable, undesirable. Zelensky was asked to leave the White House. Then he appeared on Fox News and said he thinks he can still salvage his relationship with President Trump, which is like Bud Justin Bolden saying, "I'd love to work with Lake again." The delivery was clinical, devoid of warmth, almost surgically precise. The punchline resonated with a chilling accuracy. This wasn't mere comedic roasting. It was a calculated message, a public pronouncement from within Hollywood itself, confirming the industry's evolving sentiment. They were collectively moving on from Blake Lively.
They chose to make the butt of the joke on her, not on him.
For years, Blake Lively had meticulously cultivated a public persona, a carefully constructed image of the quintessential Hollywood darling, the effortlessly charming A-lister, the relatable yet aspirational celebrity, the feminist icon who could seemingly do no wrong. Every meticulously planned red carpet appearance, every carefully worded interview, every curated social media post, all were designed to reinforce this flawless, almost untouchable image. But the relentless march of 2024 brought with it a brutal reckoning. The lawsuit acted as a wrecking ball, smashing through the carefully constructed walls of this PR fantasy, exposing a starkly different reality beneath the polished surface. Whispers, initially confined to industry circles, began to leak into the public domain. Crew members from her latest film project, It Ends With Us, emboldened by the changing tide, started to share their experiences, painting a portrait of a controlling, demanding, and at times, tyrannical figure. Accounts emerged of a manipulative, power-obsessed monster who treated those around her as expendable pawns in her personal empire. A far cry from the relatable, down-to-earth persona she projected to the world. The meticulously crafted facade was cracking, revealing glimpses of a less palatable truth that Hollywood and the public were beginning to see.
It got some laughs, a little uncomfortable from Anna Taylor, and then Kevin Costner just didn't react at all.
The Kirsty Galler interview stands as a pivotal moment, a stark illustration of how quickly a carefully constructed image can unravel. Intended as a routine, innocuous press junket moment, it devolved into a public relations catastrophe of epic proportions. While ostensibly discussing her latest project, Blake, in a stunning display of tone deafness and unwarranted aggression, transformed a polite, congratulatory remark into a deeply personal and offensive attack. When interviewer Kirsty Galler, in a well-meaning attempt at rapport, acknowledged Blake's pregnancy with a simple, "Congrats on yours?" Blake's response was not just dismissive, it was barbed and cruel. "Congrats on yours," she retorted, the words laced with a venomous edge. The devastating irony, the appalling misstep, lay in the fact that Kirsty Galler was not pregnant. Even more acutely painful, she had publicly shared her struggles with infertility, making Blake's callous remark not just insensitive, but profoundly hurtful. In a single, unguarded moment, Blake Lively managed to alienate not only a respected journalist, but also a vast segment of the public. The backlash was immediate and ferocious. Disgusting, heartless, unforgivable, the internet exploded with condemnation. The feminist icon label felt hollow, the America's sweetheart image shattered beyond repair. Her career trajectory hung precariously in the balance, a direct consequence of a self-inflicted wound broadcast globally.
Did Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively make their first public appearance at Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary, they made a joke about it all.
Facing a rapidly spiraling public image and a lawsuit threatening to bankrupt them, Blake Lively and her team resorted to increasingly desperate measures. In a move that reeked of desperation and a profound misunderstanding of the situation, she enlisted Nick Shapiro, a crisis PR operative with a background that raised more eyebrows than it calmed nerves. Shapiro wasn't just any publicist, he was a former CIA official, a figure deeply implicated in the controversial handling of the Hunter Biden laptop controversy. The irony was almost satirical. Blake, who had publicly castigated Justin Baldoni for employing PR assistants, now hired a figure whose professional history was built on manipulating narratives and obscuring truths. Within weeks of Shapiro's arrival, a wave of suspiciously favorable articles began to surface in prominent publications, painting Blake as a victim, highlighting phantom legal victories, and attempting to spin the narrative in her favor. However, Baldoni's legal team, far from being intimidated, was astute and proactive. They swiftly exposed the orchestrated media manipulation, dragging Shapiro's shadowy PR tactics into the harsh glare of public scrutiny. The carefully constructed spin campaign began to unravel almost as quickly as it had been launched, further damaging Blake's credibility and highlighting the lengths to which she was willing to go to control the narrative.
You kind of had to being there, which makes me realize and think this was all orchestrated and planned. This was his WME and people getting in and giving Lauren Michaels and Saturday Night Live sort of the opportunity to get them there first, to sort of address it.
Facing a rapidly spiraling public image and a lawsuit threatening to bankrupt them, Blake Lively and her team resorted to increasingly desperate measures. In a move that reeked of desperation and a profound misunderstanding of the situation, she enlisted Nick Shapiro, a crisis PR operative with a background that raised more eyebrows than it calmed nerves. Shapiro wasn't just any publicist, he was a former CIA official, a figure deeply implicated in the controversial handling of the Hunter Biden laptop controversy. The irony was almost satirical. Blake, who had publicly castigated Justin Baldoni for employing PR assistants, now hired a figure whose professional history was built on manipulating narratives and obscuring truths. Within weeks of Shapiro's arrival, a wave of suspiciously favorable articles began to surface in prominent publications, painting Blake as a victim, highlighting phantom legal victories, and attempting to spin the narrative in her favor. However, Baldoni's legal team, far from being intimidated, was astute and proactive. They swiftly exposed the orchestrated media manipulation, dragging Shapiro's shadowy PR tactics into the harsh glare of public scrutiny. The carefully constructed spin campaign began to unravel almost as quickly as it had been launched, further damaging Blake's credibility and highlighting the lengths to which she was willing to go to control the narrative.
Zelensky was asked to leave the White House. Then he appeared on Fox News and said he thinks he can still salvage his relationship with President Trump, which is like Justin Baldoni saying, "I'd love to work with Blake again."
The legal drama surrounding It Ends With Us took a significant and damaging turn when Ryan Reynolds, initially perceived as a supportive spouse standing on the sidelines, was officially named as a defendant in the lawsuit. Suddenly, the spotlight intensified, shifting from Blake's actions to scrutinize Ryan's role in the unfolding controversy. Damning reports began to circulate, detailing a clandestine meeting where Ryan, alongside Blake and high-ranking studio executives, allegedly exerted pressure to have Justin Baldoni removed from the film project he had passionately developed for years. The carefully cultivated nice guy persona, the affable king of social media charm, began to feel increasingly performative, a carefully crafted illusion masking a more ruthless reality. Hollywood, an industry built on image and perception, began to react with characteristic swiftness and pragmatism. Studios, wary of reputational damage, started to subtly distance themselves. Co-stars, once effusive in their praise, became conspicuously silent. The industry, once eager to bask in the reflected glow of Ryan Reynolds' star power, began to quietly, and then not so quietly, withdraw its support. The golden boy of Hollywood, once seemingly untouchable, was rapidly becoming a liability, his carefully constructed image crumbling under the weight of public scrutiny and industry disapproval.
This shows SNL playing its cards of, yeah, they're clearly, they know Blake Lively is crazy. And given the appearance, she's gonna have this same reaction of, wait a second, why are you making fun of me? I thought you had our back, Sarah Live. What's going on?
From the glittering stage of SNL's 50th anniversary to the precipice of Hollywood exile, the descent of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively was a masterclass in rapid reputational destruction. Colin Jost's seemingly innocuous joke acted as a catalyst, a pivotal moment that crystallized the shifting industry sentiment. Hollywood, ever pragmatic and attuned to public perception, sensed a change in the wind and reacted accordingly, decisively turning its back on a couple once held in such high esteem. For Ryan and Blake, the lawsuit transcended mere legal proceedings. It morphed into a very public, very painful reputation execution, played out in real time for the world to witness. While Justin Baldoni may have relinquished creative control of his film, in the long and arduous battle for professional survival and public vindication, he arguably emerged victorious. Ryan and Blake, once symbols of Hollywood success and aspirational glamour, became a cautionary narrative. A stark reminder of the industry's unforgiving nature, where image is paramount and even the brightest stars can plummet from grace with breathtaking speed and finality.